everyone, and welcome to CFC Fan TV, a very festive background, as you can see. Now it's the Christmas period. So me and Rory, after our horrific time at Spurs, we've decided this Premier League game is vital. And
what a week.
What a week, yeah. And it's vital that we get 3 points here. So we have changed things up a little bit. We've had some discussions. We've talked about what we think would be the best starting lineup going forward for Chelsea FC in the Premier League. So we're going to talk you through it now. So, Rory, well, first of all, we'll go through why we think we needed the change, which we've already discussed earlier this week a little bit, but it's vital. It's important, isn't it?
Absolutely. I mean, we've gone drastic here as well. It doesn't come that naturally to me. I get a lot of grief because, I persevere with players and I love the old guard, and people say that I don't make the changes enough. But I think if you've ever accused me of that, you're going to quite like this team because after what happened at White Hart Lane or Wembley or wherever it was, I think that we really do now need to use it as an opportunity to play some more players. Because I read a really interesting article, actually, so did you see it? I think it was Giaccherini, who was playing under Sarri at Napoli. He was slightly frustrated with Sarri because he was saying that when they eventually needed their squad players towards the end of the season, I think he'd only used 14 players all season. Towards the end of the season, the players were getting injured and knackered and whatever, and they had to bring in some of the squad. They weren't fit. They weren't ready for it. So I think we really do have to make use of our squad. And if there is ever a time to rotate, it's when we've been embarrassed at Tottenham. So here it is.
OK, then. So, first up, we've kept Kepa in goal. Now, he did come under a lot of fire. I actually, there's something online about Jamie Carragher saying that, he thinks that if it was Courtois in goal against Tottenham, that some of the goals would have been saved. I don't think that's the case. I think he's talking a bit...
Have you seen Courtois play football lately?
I know. I think he's talking rubbish, if I'm being honest. But nevertheless, Kepa, he is a long-term investment. I think a lot of those goals, well, as we discussed, were David Luiz's fault and just the team not performing very well. So, although what it looked like to me in the stadium, it could have been Kepa's fault. Actually, when you watch the repeats back, that's actually not the case. So,
look, there's nothing that Kepa could do. When Christian Eriksen crosses a ball in like that, it was the most sumptuous, gorgeous cross ever. It's always going to result in a goal. He whipped it at the perfect height.
I thought the first goal, he couldn't have done anything.
Definitely not his fault. The long shot from Harry Kane, I think you could make a case for Kepa doing slightly more, but I would make the case that David Luiz dummying it effectively. Your goalkeeper can never anticipate their centre half getting out of the way of the ball. Yeah. Therefore, it's not his fault.
The only reason I thought it might have been his fault is because when I was sat right near the front, it wasn't like I thought maybe he thinks it's going to go wide, but it didn't really. It was quite a decent goal.
In the stadium as well, you would never have you've got a great view in the stadium and you see things that loads of people don't see. But I did the show, the kickoff, so I saw it. In the stadium, you'd never know this, but watching it on TV. David Luiz literally dummies the ball. You can't know that from the stadium.
All I saw was basically the ball rolling in. It wasn't like it was hit really hard. It just sort of, I thought maybe he could have just dived for it. But, either way, that was David Luiz's fault. So we've kept Kepa in there because at the end of the day, he is a long-term... he's done nothing wrong. He's a long-term investment, and a lot of that was the team's fault. So Kepa still stayed in goal. And then we've kept the wings the same. We've gone with Dave and Alonso. Again, I actually don't think... It's them two mainly at fault for a lot of these things.
I don't think either have played as well as towards the middle part of the season that we've seen so far, rather than the beginning.
Dave has made some mistakes, but I think that's obviously because Sarri's moved him out. And let's not forget, Dave coming in... Well, Aspilicueta, sorry, I should say, for those of you who don't know Dave is. Him coming into Chelsea, he is a right-back. We played him at left-back. We then moved him to right. Then we moved in central midfield. And now we want him to go back to the right. So that is going to naturally take some time for him to fit in there.
Yeah, look, he hasn't played well. And I'm sure by his own high standards, he won't be happy with what he's been doing. But equally... They're great players who've played very well for us. I mean, Aspilicueta must start. You could make a case for Palmieri, but every time I've seen him this season, I don't think he's looked good at all. So Marcos Alonso also keeps his place. Now, though, we've made quite a drastic change in the middle, and you'll be very surprised to hear me say this. Playing alongside Rudiger for us is Andreas Christensen.
Yes, I'm thrilled about this. Now, listen, one of the... rightly so, when he played against Liverpool in the Cup, he wasn't that great. A lot of that, I think, is down to just not having enough game time. And I think when you know your manager doesn't favour you at the start, you're naturally just a bit more nervous and you are prone to make a few more errors. But I think if Sarri put faith in him and changed him now, that would give him a lot of confidence. We would see a lot more of what we saw when he was under Antonio Conte for the first part of the season. So I think he's just too much of a talent to waste. I really do. I think he should be in the team.
Yeah, absolutely. And he needs to be given a chance. If David Luiz has the performance that he had the other day against Tottenham and maintained his place in the team, what motivation is there for the squad?
Yes.
What motivation is there? So I think Andreas Christensen deserves to have a chance playing alongside Antonio Rudiger, and let's see if they can form that really stable, really solid partnership that will propel us up the table.
Yeah. Okay, then. And then I'll move further into the midfield. Now, listen, we haven't done too many rotations here. You will see some of the same players. However, Kante will be playing in more of a defensive role. So we've gone for
this is
Kante.
crucial.
Yeah.
This is the crucial bit. Although we've picked Jorginho and N'Golo Kante, we're actually changing the system slightly. I think that N'Golo Kante has to play in his natural position, and so does Jorginho. So we're going to play two holding midfielders, which is going to ask a lot of Ross Barkley that we'll come on to.
Yes, we will.
But we think that we need those two players to play in their natural position. We need Jorginho because of his ball distribution and his ball retention, and the fact that he's so happy to pick the ball up with his back to goal from the back line, whether it's the keeper or the defence. We need him to be there. Of course we do, because it's essential to Sarri's system. But equally, we need the defensive cover that N'Golo Kante can lend.
Yeah. And I think, actually, if you have two more defensive players in the midfield, then that would be room for somebody like Ross Barkley. And a lot of you guys do want to see him in the team more. Now, listen, we love Kovacic. We think Kovacic is a fantastic player, but I don't think he works being in the starting lineup at the moment if we're having Jorginho and Kante playing in that defensive role. And I think Ross Barkley has a lot more to offer going forward. He scored some good goals for us this season. I think he looked up for it. And I actually think that Kovacic, do you remember that first time he came on and he linked up with Hazard, and it was
Arsenal,
towards the end? Yeah, that was a really good partnership, and I think that worked well. And he came on as a sub, and I think he's more than capable. Of course, if Barkley was to get injured, it wouldn't be the end of the world if Kovacic is on the field. But I just think that if we're making it more defensive, then Barkley would be the only one to put in there.
Barkley, if you're comparing Barkley to Kovacic, for me, Kovacic is a better player, a better overall football player, for sure, actually. But I think for this system, and you have to, you can't put square pegs in round holes. For this system, I think we need somebody who has a natural eye for a goal, who is slightly more forward-thinking, who's going to stand slightly further up the pitch and support the front players. And I think that player is Ross Barkley. I think he's done enough to deserve this opportunity. So we're going to drop Kovacic, which feels weird because I do rate him so highly, but we're going to drop him, we're going to put in Ross Barkley, and hopefully that can support the players further up the pitch, who are...
Well, we've gone with Hazard and Pedro. Now, obviously, we're never going to take Hazard out of the team. I don't think he had a great game against Tottenham, if I'm being honest.
Very unlucky, though, because he won a penalty early on.
Oh, yeah, of course. It wasn't given. Yeah, but what I would say is, I think, well, our striker is going to be a main reason why. But anyway, we'll get onto that in a minute. Hazard is never going to be taken out of the team. He is a fantastic player, and I think a lot of the errors that have been made in that area of the pitch so far this season have been due to the fact that we've not had a decent striker up front. So I think whenever he does get the ball into the box, whether he's denied a penalty, given a penalty, he's very limited to what he can do, and we can't rely on him for a goal all the time. But I'm hoping that when we get to our striker situation, that you'll see a lot more from him.
We've also dropped Willian.
We have dropped Willian again. I do really like Willian. It's quite hard to. We're creating a system here, aren't we? We're not saying which player individually is not good enough. We're just saying who we think fits within a system, a group of 11 players. So. Yes, we've put Pedro in there. I think Pedro is vital. I think when he's been out injured, it's really shown, how vital he is to our team and how much we struggle without him, to bring him on as a sub or as a starting player. But I think in this system, and if you take it how Willian has performed so far this season, it's not been great, and I think Pedro would be the person to put in there.
Yeah, I think it has to be Pedro. I think he's so used to playing this expansive game, and I love William, but he had such a shocker. He can't maintain his place. Similar to what I said about David Luiz. If you can play that badly and keep your place in the team, there is no motivation to anyone who's knocking on the door. Yeah,
exactly. Okay, and then the up front. Now, we have gone with Giroud. Big thing here because, he has played a little... Fine, he may not have scored as many goals, but the main thing here is that fans appreciate the contribution he makes to Hazard's game. Is that fair enough?
There's so many. That's one of the 1,000 reasons I could give as to why Olivier Giroud starts this game against Fulham. There is no debate for me here whatsoever. Absolutely. I mean, I've actually got very little to say because I've said it all a million times. Olivier Giroud is the best striker at Chelsea. and therefore will start this game.
He has to. He has to. He's our only option. I think if you keep Morata in the team after a performance against Tottenham, it's just, if I was Giroud, I'd be looking at it like, hold on a minute, doesn't really make much sense to me. So, and I actually think the only way Giroud will properly improve is if he's given a regular first team place. So that's where it is. We're not starting Morata anymore. I'd be very surprised if we put him in the team for the rest of the season. And I'm so sorry, but it is what it is, isn't it?
Yeah, I agree. I think that's our team. But what we'd like to know is, do you like not only our changes in personnel, how do you feel about that midfield pivot that we've created, which is with 2 holding midfielders? I think it could work quite nicely, actually. They'll offer the defence a lot of cover, remembering it's a new defence, so they'll cover the defence well. Fulham are on the up, typically, just before we play them. And we're asking a lot of Ross Barkley. Ross Barkley's going to have a huge amount of weight on his shoulders. Is he up to the task?
I think he is. And do you know what I think actually will help out? I think having Giroud and Hazard together it won't be as much pressure. I think if we'd had Morata still up front, it would have been asking quite a lot. But I think putting Giroud in the team, I think those 3 together, I think we've got a good team here, Raw.
See?